Welcome to Rogers Art Studio, located about 5 miles from Seguin, 1 block from the beautiful Guadalupe River. My name is Roger Batchelor. I am currently working on 2 sculptures. One is a fiberglass and the other one is a plaster sculpture. And today I am with my friend Nancy Cassar, who is doing the videoing, and we're hoping that this will be a good take. At any rate, today I want to demonstrate how to cast the human hand. We are going to be using alginate. Alginate is kind of a very powdery substance. It's the same material that the dentist uses to cast a tooth when you go in for an appointment. And what we're going to do is we're going to take an equal part by volume of alginate and mix it with an equal volume of water. And we're going to be using my drill, and my drill makes a lot of noise. Actually, if my wife would let me use her mixer from the kitchen, it would work a lot better. Here's my container that I'm using. I'm going to pour this into this container. See how lumpy, and it's got this beautiful color, kind of a lavender color. Okay, let's see. My hand is going to go about like this. I'm going to embed it into it. Ooh, mixed a little bit too much, but that's all right. Just let it overflow here. And it should only take a couple minutes for it to set up. It's important that as you put your hand in, your fingers are not touching the outside of the mold, because that'll make that area weak and it'll collapse. It's also important to try and keep your hand really still while you're doing this. Kind of looks like oatmeal when you're making it, but they say that this is a material made from seaweed, so it's not going to hurt you, but I don't think it'd be too tasty. I can kind of feel it starting to set up here a little bit. Yeah, I can feel my fingers, like if I try and press them together a little bit, they're pretty much solidified in there. I don't want to move too much, because then I will maybe distort this mold, and I don't want to do that. It's pretty much a one-shot deal. The material's fairly expensive, so it's like something you just don't do and play with. You want to work out all the details beforehand and make sure once you do it that you're doing it right and you're not going to mess it up. All right, I'm going to check this stuff here. It's over here. You can see how it's pretty much set up. But I'm just going to wait for just a little bit longer here. This is probably as close as I get to a pedicure. It's kind of relaxing. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can can feel like it's kind of releasing here. Oh my gosh, I think I'm stuck. Oh, no, I'm just gonna kind of pull it away here. Start breaking it away, just easing around it. Guess I should have shaved my hand first. My hand was kind of stuck in there. Yeah, I feel like it wants to come out. By moving my hand around in here now, it's allowing some of the air to get down there around the fingers. And yeah, I feel my thumb is loose. Oop, there's one finger. Feel some air down there. It's that big long finger that's giving me the issues here right now. Oh, yeah, it's coming. Okay, come on. Once you start pulling, you can't push it back in because then you have a chance of a nail catching on the mold and tearing it. It's working its way out. Oh, yeah. You see that? There it is. All right. Okay, that takes care of this phase here. What we're going to do next is get prepared and prepare our plaster. This is going to be a plaster casting. So we'll just take a minute break here, get set up for the next phase. Okay, I have got my hand all cleaned up now, and I went ahead and cleaned out my containers here, and this is kind of the leftover material here. You can't use it for anything. Maybe I can put it in my garden. It'll help the carrots to grow or something. I'm not sure. So what I've done is I've taken water and poured it into the mold. And what this is going to tell me is how much plaster I need to mix up to do this next casting. We're going to be using plaster of Paris. Alright, so all my water is being poured out into here. And this is all set to go. So my water is in here. What I'm going to do is start putting in my plaster. Now some of you may not have made plaster before. And what you do is you just sprinkle it in gently. And if it's lumpy, you need to break up the lumps. But you easily just put in plaster into your water. And I'm kind of moving it so it kind of goes all over as it's going in. Just take a few minutes and you'll have it. And what's happening is that as it hits the water, all the particles are touching the water and it's starting to absorb the water. So you're getting a nice, even consistency within your plaster. You're not going to end up with a bunch of lumps. And as I'm going in, it's starting to mound up here on top a little bit. And I don't know if you can see that. You can see how it's starting to mound up on top here. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit more. And I'm just going to let it set here for about 2 minutes, and then we'll do the mixing. Okay, here's the plaster right now. You can see how the water is kind of absorbed into the plaster. There's a couple of little white spots in there. Just going to go in there now and mix it up. And it just makes it so much easier for mixing plaster once you've let that water absorb. And actually, I like getting my hand in here and stirring with my hand, because then you can really tell if there's any lumps left in it or not. Now the other thing, that with stirring, you're going to start putting in some air bubbles. So what we want to do is just kind of bounce this thing for a couple of times and try and get out all those air bubbles. You can see some of the air bubbles up there on the top. Okay, I think we're ready. We're just going to pour this in. I'm going to get a little bit of height here so it kind of hits in there and it'll fill in those spaces just a little bit better. Oh, here we go. Looking good, looking good. And I see a big air bubble coming up right now. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to take this and just bounce it a little bit. If there's any more air bubbles, hopefully they'll come out. I really want to get down on the floor and really bounce it, but I can see some of those little bubbles still coming up here. Just a tad more. Okay. Now it's going to take probably 10 minutes or so for it to set up. I have this little screw with a washer, and I'm going to float this into the surface, and so when it comes out, I will be able to take off this nut, take out the washer, and create a little base for it to screw onto it. So we'll put that right in the center. Oh, that's not going to work. I have to leave it set up for a little bit before I set it in. But, so I'm going to be here for the next 5 minutes just kind of watching it. You don't need to be watching me do this, but I'm just going to tell you, I need for this to set up a little bit, then I'll put this in, and then it'll be all set to be mounted. So this will take, the plaster inside the mold here will take a good 24 hours to make sure it's got some strength. With plaster of Paris, which I'm using today, it doesn't have a whole lot of strength. So if you don't have the strength, as soon as you start trying to pull the mold off, those fingers are going to break right off. So if you plan on doing something like this, you might consider using another product like Hydrocal or something like that that has a little bit more strength. Okay, I think that's all we can do for right now. Beautiful. Okay, I think that's all we can do for right now, and I appreciate you coming here, and hopefully in a few days I will have it popped up and we'll see what we have. Thank you for watching my video.